Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Welcome, pre-market here at SpartanTrading.com. Wednesday. Welcome to those of you joining us for a live YouTube stream. This is our first one of the year. Interesting stuff going on. We have cycles that are involved, longer term cycles that projected that the S&P news from our friends at Cycle Fan. And we just, we take a peek, see how it goes. Someone obviously, I actually think, twins, this is the Norwegians. This feels like the Norwegians. And remember last time how long that lasted. We'll see. We shall see. Let's put the screen share on right now. All right, what do we got? So we do have the minutes coming out this afternoon at 2 from the Fed. Okay. We have some data that did come out as well. Manufacturing PMI was a little bit softer. Look, from a macro point of view, from the United States perspective, things are pretty much Goldilocks. The thing that I've had a huge issue with, and I continue to have a huge issue with, is the number of rate cuts being forecasted for this year. If that happens, then you're talking about a deep recession, period, exclamation point. I don't care. The Goldilocks narrative, I don't even know in the Goldilocks narrative whether you'd get more than 2 cuts, okay? So maybe 3, all right? The peeps at Finstrat are looking for 4% by year end, but none of this 6, 7, that's a deflationary, recessionary cycle, and none of us wants that to happen. I cannot say that strongly enough. I don't think people understand. Also, the basis trade is so huge, okay? Don't forget, there are a lot of people that were stuck in it. Basically, you're short the 10 and you're covering it, right? And then the inversion, all kinds of stuff going on right now, right? I just think that you have to be cognizant that things are not as easy or simple as they seem right now. Okay, that's my story, sticking to it. Right. Okay. Let me go from there. Right. So construction spending was softer. The auctions were fine. Right. Overnight, core logic dwelling price is 0.4. That was the month-over-month, so no real changes there. I continue to look overseas, Asia Pacific Rim, Germany, see what's going on here. And you can see here in terms of the unemployment, persons, a little bit less than expected, but more than the previous month. In the Schatz auction was 2.44, obviously with interest rates going down, the unemployment rate as expected, right? And then you have with us, that was yesterday, right? What the, sorry. And then we had the mortgage rates, 6.76, continue to go down. Applications down quite a bit, right? And yeah, Boken speaking, we have the Fed heads coming out. ISM, let's see what this looks like. Once again, I think these are going to be Goldilocks numbers. Now the jolts, everybody's saying, oh, the jolts and the jolts. The jolts can be a walk on the wild side. I mean, just being honest with you all, it has been a walk on the wild side. So we shall see how things play out and about, right? And we go from there. Right? ISM, all this stuff. And then here's the FOMC minutes. It'll be interesting to see how dovish they are in this one. Because Jay Powell was as dovish as I've seen him, okay, in his remarks after the meeting. So that's about as good as you're going to get from him. And then we do have some PMI numbers coming out as well. Okay. Earnings, not a whole lot, but I mean, right. So this one Thursday, obviously Walgreens Boots, we'll see how that plays out, Lamb Weston. And then we start to get into the, before you know it, the financials will be reporting in a couple weeks. Okay, and then we start very, 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 very important earnings cycle. I continue to tell you that the first 3 months of an election cycle is definitely squishy at best. So I just want you to keep that in mind, right? And we'll see. And the small caps, mid caps do the best, relatively speaking. And you know, we'll just keep watching until we get this. We don't have. Does anybody have a new one? I only have this one right here. It's not up to date yet. Anyways, shares of Apples, you know about that. News, U.S. stocks dip to start new U.S. Apple slips, right? Share slip, right? We know all about that stuff. Let me make sure this is up to date. Yeah. Okay. All right. What do we got? Out as president. Yeah, look. There's something I have to say here because it's really important. Okay. And it's meaningful and important to the markets as a whole as well. Okay. If you are going to use social media platforms as your guiding light in terms of making decisions, the only thing I can say to you is you need to do your research and you need to do your historical research as well, okay? This is a problem with especially younger people today in the world we live in. They basically believe everything printed is fact and truthful, especially as we get into an election cycle and we hear things printed. And we see it day-to-day, intraday as well, when we see tweets and this and that, okay? It's a very difficult situation when you're using social media, even talking heads on CNBC, Fox News, whatever, okay? Everyone has an agenda, right? Especially these. Once upon a time, there was fact checking, And there's certain people who are very good at what they do, and they do, like David Faber, he doesn't come out and say anything unless he's done his homework and research. This is just my 2024 words of wisdom to you, especially as we get further into an election cycle and stuff like that. It's really notable and important that you understand that you still have to do your research, please, okay? And don't take anything at face value, right? Because that's when you get these movements that when 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, there's a reason why this history, okay, and it rhymes. Just don't repeat it, that's all, okay? That's my social media, disclaimer for 2024, especially when we get closer to the election cycle and stuff. So if you, whatever. All right, what do we got? All right, once again, cycles, inversion. Okay, we see this going on. I'm hedged. I'm waiting for things to play out. You can see right now. This actually, it's a mid, which is really hard. Okay, so there's left, right, and mid translations. Okay, when you have something like this, it actually should be right translated when it's all said and done. Okay, but I wouldn't mind if we basically get this cycle low and it's down here, and then we can basically get a right translation. When you're looking at cycles, you're always looking for some sort of translation. We know that there's a timing cycle that came in on the SPX for January 1st. That's across the board. And if you look at that, okay, look, irregardless, okay, as far as I'm concerned, right, in totality, the market is fine, right? In totality, right? I basically have cash to put to work. How I put it to work will be a function of the tech side, and basically I'll have trailing stop entries to buy off of pivot points, okay? I am hedged more than I've been in a long time. So here we have, this is a daily, right? So basically we're pulling back. The cycle is 111, right? So this, in theory, could it go all the way back down, okay? And it'd be right translated, well, it'll be right translated the following cycle, right? So you have to be aware of these different timing cycles. Now here's the dollar. This is a low, cycle low, okay? And you can see here, this is a powerful cycle. So that would be difficult for assets like cryptos. That would be difficult for gold. I am hedged in gold and silver. I told you I was doing that stuff. Okay, and then we go from there. So these are what these different cycles mean, right? And here you can, Mara had a cycle top as well, 1225. And this is why I follow this person, because I could do this stuff myself, but it's just easier for them to do it. You can do this on TradingView. It's really easy to do, but they're going to do it for me, right? All right, so let's see what's going to happen here. 8 days like today, over the last 50 years, there have been 8 occasions when the NASDAQ followed double-digit year with a 0.5% loss on the opening. The following week was positive in each of those 8 cases. The 2 -1% cases were followed by a 2% week. Okay, there you go. I love it. This is so much fun. Seriously. Okay, so it's buy the dip. Right? Anyways, the whole year tends to play out early in a year. Anyways, let's see what's going on in boots on the ground. I'm not sure what's going on with Tesla. Production numbers are out. We know that. That means, yeah, BYD. Truflation, I just love this thing. It's really fun. So if you have $30,000, right? I mean, you can customize it, all kinds of stuff. It's really cool. Anyways. All right, Enrique is saying this is EEM, he's looking bullish, but he said that we would have a top in the market in January. And this is the 2.09, 2.92 is the real inflation numbers if you look at them. But He's also saying that we had a blow off top in January, end of the year, so. He doesn't think we're done here, as you can see with the EM, and that makes sense to me that we would have money flows, right? Daily chart book, let's see what they got for us today. Credit growth as measured by loans and lease year-over-year continues to decelerate substantially. This is a big deal. Okay. I worry about the banks and financials in the sense that they're priced to perfection and they've had one monster of a rally. But, I'm just, I worry about these things, right? So, I don't know. We shall see. We shall see. All right, let's see what these guys are saying. BTC. Top performers, yeah. How can you not? Well, anyways. Oh, well. Okay. Yeah, but it's still, seriously. I'm just saying. Did you see where Zuckerberg, he's building a bunker in Hawaii? That's why he needed the money. I guess it costs a lot of money to build a bunker. Anybody see that? He's building a bunker in Hawaii. I don't know. Yeah, of AI. Okay, whatever. Everybody's got an opinion, right? Let's see what our top-down charts have to say today. Dollar. Dollar looks big, like it's going to bounce off this range bound. Look, we really don't know a lot of stuff. Over time, yes, I still think the dollar goes down. But investor sentiment versus economic sentiment. Economic, investor. What could go wrong with that? Normally, this is a huge divergence for anyone who's paying attention. Jesus Christ, pins and snap? Well, I'm in both of them, but seriously. Okay. Why not? We'll see. Okay. Let's see what our peeps of visual capitalists are talking about. The tops of over 20 years. Apple, 59,918%. Monster. Really? That's fascinating. Would any of you thought that? Netflix, Booking, ISRG, NVIDIA. Wow. Oh, that's Monster Energy. Okay, whatever. Let's keep going. Winsmart. Let's see what our friends have here. I hate it that they don't do the charts anymore on the side here. What the postings are. Construction. Wow. You learn something new every day. Expensive relative to the last 10 years, yeah. Okay. What do we got? Gold. The young lad over in the UK, one of the world's largest gold producers, now looking to become a major league copper producer. Interesting. Watch for bare gold. Interesting. The story's still getting good. You know, it's that would make sense to me with a lot of the stuff. It's just so freaking expensive mining gold. Well, mining in and of itself is really expensive. Um, so it's kind of similar to, you know, with on the oil side, putting new wells on and stuff like that is just such an expensive um undertaking. So harumph. All right, what do we got? National debt, 34 trillion, so proud as government shutdown looms. Yep, let's do it. Out in January is now consensus. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, what could go on with that? Look, I've already pivoted. I told you I pivoted with a lot of stuff out of the Mag 7 and stuff like that. And you know that. And what I do have, I'm hedged on, okay? And this is the largest exposure I've had to consumer staples type stuff. UNH, healthcare, you know, not just bios, but, you know, like Lilly and stuff like that. Okay. And this just makes perfect sense to me, right? That this is where money would flow. And I keep saying that. And, you know, until it stops working. It's that simple until it stops working, right? Let's see what's going on with flow. All right. Some hedging didn't come on. That notable hedging was in CRE. I thought that was pretty interesting. That's the first time I've seen a CRE hedge come in. FYI. I thought that was interesting. PDD had a hedge come in. So this is hedging. Constant accumulation of C. They did get an upgrade, right? Qs, Tesla continues to get, you know, well, this is retail, you know that. So that continues to happen as well. Right? So we'll just kind of see how things play out. Where's my, oh, I don't have the insider buy one. Anyways, let's look at today. People are back. Joel, busy, Beard, outperform on Amelix, Jazz Pharma, and ITCI. Nice little, juicy little price there. And he's a 72% stud. Can't argue with that. Apple, neutral, right? 9%, 13.5% on NVIDIA. This is Gil, who came out from Davidson. 60%, so yes. Okay. Right? Why can't I, let's see if I can just, it's blocking it. That bothers me. Anyways, yeah, and then we have overweights coming in on Cardinal Health, stuff like that from Barclays. Stephanie, little baby Stadat, she's only 39%. So not something that I would really be excited about, right? Okay, lots of downgrades, right? And these are pretty big peeps in terms of their flexing their muscles, 70+%. You can't, SoFi, you know, a lot of these you can see, Rocket in the Pocket, Mocha performed to underperform, right? So a lot of these that the retail were buying are now being, you know, downgraded. Goldman Sachs downgrade to a sell. Aurora, AUR, notable, right? And then we go from there. Keurig Dr. Pepper, overweight to equal weight, but higher prices. So let's look at the upgrades. Here we go. PTVE, Jumia, interesting. Rockwell, interesting as well. Lazard, I'm actually in Lazard. That's interesting as well. This little pop there. It's a nice little chart too. City got the upgrade from Wolf. Stephen, he's 72%, so it's no schlub. Okay. Teva also. Some of these are really interesting, I think. But obviously, you know, when you can get a 70 to 80%er, you know, and these are pretty nice, you know, ranges, why not, right? 14%, 17.5. If you can outperform the S&P, why not? I know I'm a broken record, but I continue to have to say this, right? Okay. Yeah. June, broken record. 1, 2, 3 cuts. Right. December. Now, like I say, the peeps at Finstrat are looking at 4%. Okay, so looking for, you know, how many cuts in? Quite a bit. Right? 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, anyways, you can see the numbers. The same thing I said before last year, okay, and the same thing I said before the year before, okay, they've got it wrong. The only way they get this right is we don't want to see that happen is we're in a deep recession. Period, exclamation point. The economy is not supportive of this many rate cuts. It's not. There's a systemic inflation that's not bad, that's healthy, of 3%. That's historical, seriously. And as long as this narrative is floated, and that's positive for stocks. I keep, you know, let's get back to the good old days, right? It's the economy, right? Let's get back to that. There's so much cash sloshing around right now, right? That's what I have to say. I'm not sure what's going on with my Season X, but it doesn't seem to like browser. Yeah, well. All right, let's take a peek. This is fantastic. All right, so let's see what this looks like now. Some sentiment warning signs to in the year, and we know. Dumb money confidence, right? We know that, right? What could go wrong with that? Negative, median return is negative, okay? So we've got to the point where, okay, this excessive optimism and saying, okay, and this has happened July, right? We know what happened in July, right? And then we go further along the way, okay? And that shouldn't be surprising to anybody. And then internal momentum, so broad and persistent, that's historic. Interesting, right? Okay. Historic. What happens? Going back to 1962, 50-50, Z-score. Then you see bullish going further out. McClellan oscillator, this has been really epic as well. Front end, sloppy choppy. You can see here, 2020 was the last time this happened. Number of days in the cycle. And you can see here, it was bearish for 1 month and then started to get bullish. As you can see here, look at this. When was the last time we saw this, friends? Green. Swooning. Total reset. We wanted to see this, right? Look, right now it's all about technicals, whether support holds or support doesn't, okay? It's literally that simple, okay? I'm up to almost 20% cash. I'm very excited about it, okay? I have lots of money to put to work. I'm sitting on my hands and I'll look for double bottoms. I'll look for, you know, places to get in, where I want to go, okay? How I want to do it, right? You know, stuff like that. So that's simple. All resetting here. You see the 10-day, but this is still pretty far in the summation. The oscillators reset. We got a reset on this across the board as well. The 10-day is clearly, 50-day is not deep red, but rosy. So that's fine too. And here you go, the seasonality, very unusual, right, for us to be negative. But as you can see here, the Russell, right, the first trading day tends to be negative, right, and then a little bit positive. And then you got the green, and you got the red, and yada, yada. But, you know, the problem lies, this is great. And you can see here the Dow looks really ugly, fugly. Normally that's a function of rotation, okay, right, out of the Dow into tech, right? So, you know, don't forget UNH is in it. You know, these are, you know, the way in which it's weighted. And then you can see here the SPX as well. It's fun and it's really fantastic, but the reality still is the rally we saw from October till the end of the year was unprecedented, right? So this is great to look at, and it's, you know, fun. All I know is in a pre-election, an election cycle year, the first 3 months is sloppy choppy. That's all I can tell you, right? Okay, all right, so let's see. What do we got? So you can see here, the yield curve is now steepening, right? It was inverting, now it's steepening. Interest rates are up except in Germany and France, right? And then you can see how Australia and Japan, they're up and they're down in Hong Kong. Here's the 2.5, right? I mean, it's pretty hard to get outside. This is a 63% range, right? I mean, seriously, how can you, right? Here's the 510, right? Don't know why this keeps popping up here, but let me put them in. And we're back to my 3-month 10-year, right? So it looks like we have this is the new range. That's what it feels like right now. Now, what's interesting about this, I have to shout out to everybody. On my timing cycle, okay, with the 3-month 10-year spread, believe it or not, we have May 2024, okay, is the potential for the recession. If on a timing price, if I go back in time and I go back historically, and I look at this and I go all the way back, okay, it actually can be out to here, May 2024. And this is why I say that is because if you look at this, okay, in terms of the recession probability, right? This is this one, okay? There's two of them that I look at. This is smooth, okay? All right, and then let's look at the other one. Okay. Oh, they've changed the model. Okay. All right. So it was spiking. All right. So you can see here. If you look at it from quarterly, right? You can see here, we're actually at level that we could enter into a recession if we break up a little bit more. Okay. Just saying. So that's a red flag, right? So Reader's Digest version is macro data is very important. I think it's Goldilocks, but the wild card is and continues to be non-farm payroll unemployment. Okay. Whether that starts to soften or not. It's been robustly, stubbornly strong in many ways, and we'll see. We'll see. That's the Chinese interest rates and here's the German interest rates, right? It would be really something, right, if that actually cracked. Now, yesterday I showed you a lot of things, right? Basically, that didn't confirm, like now and some of these other names, Salesforce at the 78.6% fib. I'm just bringing that to your attention, okay? let's see, we're gonna do semis today. We have to, right? Here's the dollar double bottom in place. Obviously, that's difficult with the asset classes, right? Gold, silver, etc. Here's the Chinese yuan. I mean, it's controlled. Who cares, right? Cryptos, right? Ethereum's down, Bitcoin's down. I do have hedges on. You know, I have hedges on. And we'll see how it plays out in about, right? Video. Okay. Commodities. Gold down, silver down, obviously. Platinum, palladium, copper down. Natty gas is up. Crude is up. Like I say, we're working on a 3-year cycle on natty gas. So, you know, and that's why I'm 2-to-1 on this trade. Okay, so just be aware of that. Long 2-to-1 against the KOLD. Okay. Aluminum, zinc, all these are down. So the preponderance, right, is down, and I'd say it probably is 40-60, with obviously crude and natty gas being the one in the oil sector, right, and everything else is down. And a lot of that is a function of the dollar, right? Natty gas, basically this was the pivot, 262, right? And we're right now currently at 261. Let's see if it happens. It has to reclaim this 10 EMA. But as you can see, on a notable what woke, I mean, this tends to be a false breakout one way or the other, but a minute, we'll see from down here. So it's not a bad trade so far. Crude, I don't know. We have to basically break this extension downtrend on the monthly, right? It also happens to be the 50 EMA on the monthly as well. Okay. Right now, a little bit of pinned action. Could be bear flagging. We don't know. We'll see. Right? Gold crude. Looks like gold crude. Don't know as of right now. Right? And here's gold. You can see here inside this massive candle. So, okay. Markets, small caps are down. Across the board there, you can see that. Myself, I had IWM puts on and I can swing them. Oh well. What are you gonna do? VIX is popping. Okay. Tech, but obviously this is a small cap, unwind. And then you can see here France, Germany, all coming down, right? This is kind of interesting. This is the super trend. So this is still long, but and it won't go short until all the way down here, but it went long from down here, right? It bought here at 39, right? And then basically sold here at 186, and we bought it at 268. So, but just for shits and giggles, let's take a look at the SPY. Okay, so SPY, it's still short, believe it or not, from here. This is where it's short, right here. Okay, and it doesn't have a breakout until the SPY becomes 47.27. So these are these big models, right, which are kind of cool. Same thing with the Qs. Okay. Okay, it just went long though. Isn't that cool? So it just went long last month. So we'll see. And then it won't go short until all the way down here. I don't know, but that's pretty cool. All right, DAX. Double top, pulling back. Let's see if we can hold this triple top previous high. Fez, I don't know why it's doing that, but anyways. Fez still inside candle. See what the pullback looks like. This actually is still holding the breakout level, right? This IWM EFA is disconcerting. Okay, topping out. That tends to be bearish for the IWM, just so you know. Okay, I'm just talking out loud on that one. Okay. So just saying. Okay, so we'll see. So right now, I'm looking at stuff into the 10 EMA that's holding, and I'm going to be buying stuff, FYI, just so you know, off the 10 EMA. I remember this is small caps, China, right? FXI, really, let's go to this, KWeb. Consolidation, you can see this up under the range, the bottom end of the range. Let's see if it holds or not. This is the one that's really fascinating. This is QQQ against the CQQQ. And we have a top in place right now. It's inside the Bollinger, I'm sorry, yeah, the Bollinger. We'll see how it plays out. It can get all the way back down to here, and that would actually mean that our market sells off. Normally when this happens, right? So from where we are to down here, that would be an 8% pullback, or the Chinese market goes up, all kinds of stuff possible, right? So here's the VXN, this is the NASDAQ one. Really fascinating how, as you can see here, the low we saw, and this is where I bought, it's all mathematics, you know, statistical risk reward sort of stuff. So you can see here, we'll see how it plays out. I don't know. Okay. All right, let's take a look at SMH. All right, so the reality is basically we have to hold this breakout pivot, right? I mean, that's, you know, that's pretty much it. So it can come back in, still be bullish. If it starts to break below that, then obviously we have to start saying, oh my goodness gracious, we may have a meaningful high in place, and then we have to start talking potentially. But for now, I mean, because of these extensions, I mean, this stuff, I mean, let's be honest, I mean, this can really pull back quite a bit and still be in an uptrend line. That's what happens, right? Here's the stocks, same narrative, right? Basically, it's falling below this pivot right here, which is notable and concerning, right? So this is the previous high right here, all-time high, right? 559.02, and we are below that. But this is a monthly chart, so lots can happen inside of a month, right? Right. SMH SOX, so you can see here the SMH is pulling down hard. So the SOX is, you know, is basically US semis, and the SMH is overseas AVGO and Taiwan semi and stuff like that as well. And you can see here that the SMH has come in pretty hard in that regard, right? And basically we have a range now on this, and you can see right here what the pivot looks like. Okay. Sorry about that. My son is up and not happy this morning. I apologize, but nothing I can do about it. So here's a pivot here with Taiwan Semi. Wasn't able to reclaim this quadrant. So basically we're still in this quadrant. Okay, and we have to be patient with it. Clearly the pivot is here. We have to break through that and hold above it. That's why I look at these monthly charts. Here's NVIDIA Taiwan Semi basically consolidated within a quadrant, and you can see that right here. We did get the double top here right now, and we have this range, and this is the 10 EMA on that, and we're sideways consolidating on that one. AMD against Taiwan Semi. You can see that. Oh. Okay, well, I don't want that. Here we go. And you can see here that AMD is pulling back, and this would be notable because this is basically how the extension was on AMD in terms of outperformance in the past month, right? Here's Micron, really actually, you know, still looks fine. I mean, it obviously never got extended, but the lo and behold is 78.6% fib. AMD Micron, consolidation right now. We'll see how that plays out. Obviously, if this starts to come down harder, you know that the semis are coming in. Here's NVIDIA against Micron. You can see here that NVIDIA obviously has lost against Micron, and by 26%. Crazy, right? Just Intel, same thing, but let's do this. Let me make sure that we got do the opposite on this one. Let's do the fib on this one. %61.8%, which is really bearish, right? Has to break and go out of that, right? The shallower So 78.6, many of these blew right by it. And that 78.6 should be a support, a hold pivot on it, FYI. So just be aware of that, okay? Here's AMD against Intel, just sideways consolidation, right? NVIDIA against SMCI. This is really fascinating. I mean, it's at the mid. So that, you know, you can see how, you know, these are NVIDIA and SMCI are the fan faves, right? What would be obviously notable is if this breaks down, right? That means that clearly, you know, NVIDIA is the one that's being taken to the woodshed more so than anybody else. Same thing, here's NVIDIA against Intel, and you can see right here, it is into a key pivot. This should bounce, right? So we're getting signs that maybe NVIDIA is, you know, done on the downside, but, you know, we have no confirmation, right? So we have to just pay attention to it, right? So ABGO, off the extension, right? I mean, it's just such a monster candle. I mean, let's be honest with it. So what's probably going to happen is when we have these monster candles, it will consolidate for multiple months. Right.
Alrighty, Beth, ready to pop on whenever you're here.
Yep.
Alrighty, guys, what's going on? Let me just pop up the screen share here. We'll get right into it. So, sorry, guys. If you guys are new to chat and haven't done so, make sure to click on that Discord link that's emailed to you. You're going to pop in the chat to look something a little bit like this. First area to go to when you guys do come in, click on that disclaimer section, give that a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section, scroll to the very, very top. So top of the section, you can see a link to the disclaimer, as well as this bolded risk reward section. Super important to go through that risk reward section, guys. Most important ratio in trading. So definitely important to understand how it actually works. If you go through that section, you have risk reward calculators, you have risk reward profiles. You have a couple of videos explaining how to actually it works and how to apply it. So definitely would do that before actually trading at all. Continue to scroll down. We have the summary of how this chat works, breaks down the channels work on the left-hand side, so you can properly navigate the chat throughout the day. Important to know where to be looking. Continue to scroll down. We have the how to read alerts on the options and equity side, breaking down how to read alerts on both sides. Pretty straightforward in that regard. Below that, options rules that we use Monday to Thursday in regards to controlling risk, scaling in, scaling out, trading different price contracts, etc., etc. SPX rules below that, breaking down all the SPX, breaking down how we control everything with the SPX ideas that we put out. Continue to scroll down. Any with a small account less than 10K. And this just goes through if you do have a smaller account less than 10K, some rules, information, discipline you can put in place. You have a better chance of growing that smaller account, in our opinion. And last but not least, how to pick ideas from an options directly perspective, which is probably the second most important thing in trading. So understanding what makes sense for you to trade and actually applying that to you in your account. All right, let's take a look at what we got going on today. So a couple of different things that we're looking at. Pre-market tickers on watch: Tesla, NVIDIA, Crowd, Coin, DYN, and then Nexi. So Tesla gapping down and sipping through the market, NVIDIA gapping down and sipping through the market, Crowd as well, Coin gapping down in continuation with Bitcoin, as well as just in continuation after last day's weakness. DYN announces positive initial clinical data from its Achieve clinical trial for DYNE 101 in patients with biotic dystrophy type 1. Nexi gapping up on retail volume. So let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two we're looking at, excuse me, guys, Tesla and NVIDIA. Let's have a look. All right, so Tesla and NVIDIA, let's have a gander here. Tesla 247.33 pivot, unable to hold 244.29 at 240.33, able to hold 251 at 29 at 256.30 on the upside. What we tested overall on Tesla going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today. If that pivot point's unable to hold, I think it will come in a little bit more there. Retest the bottom of its flag range and we kind of go from there. Let's take a look at NVIDIA here. Oops. Yeah, so that 15 is probably going to be tested. Okay. Is with the moment. Right into that 50 MA in the pre-market already. So 242.75 pivot to the downside today, aka the 50 MA on the daily. Levels able to hold, should say 472. 481.60 to 48.84. Unable to hold 462.34 to 450.88 will be tested on the downside. You're gonna be leaning bearish if that pivot point's unable to break. So, or sorry, if that pivot point is able to break. If that pivot point breaks, guys, 50 MA broken, you're gonna have some room to pull back a little bit more there on the daily. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Just watch that pivot point. That should give you the direction on that name the entire day. 50 MA, obviously huge level of support there. So got to pay attention to that. That's Tesla. That is NVIDIA. Let's take a look at the next two, Crowd and Coin. So Crowd 242.88. Here. And I'll put this one on the board just because it's got quite a bit of room down here. We're unable to hold. This could be a good one on the short side today. Had a hell of a run. So 245.02 pivot, unable to hold 239.99 to 236.05. Able to hold 250.77 to 255.96 on the upside. Overall on Crowd, going to be leaning bearish if this pivot point is unable to hold. So unable to hold, we should have to see some continuation lower there. Again, quite a bit of room back down to where's that 50 MA. It's below all EMA support on the daily in short term. So unable to reclaim that. And I would expect some continuation. Coin. Similar type of situation as that Crowd. So pivot to the downside today will be that 149, sure, 144.21 level, unable to hold. We have room back towards 135.76, 130.40 on the downside, able to hold 149.30 to 155.75. At the moment on Coin, actually going to be leaning a little bit more on the bullish neutral side. So watching to see if this pivot point holds for a bounce out the gate. And I think he can roll over, but I think it's going to try to stay within the range. It's going to be quite extended to the downside today on the open. So I'm thinking you get a slight little bounce out the gate, and then we can see if it rolls over after that. And that is Crowd and Coin. Let's take a look at the next two. So we got DYN and then Nexi. Yep. Let's take a look at the signature day here. 1979 pivot level holds 2290, 2512. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 1752 to 1550 on the downside. Overall on DYN, going to be leaning bullish if that pivot point is able to reclaim here. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Let's take a look at Nexi. Nice little push to 705 at the moment. Okay. 602 pivot level holds. We got room towards 729 to 843, unable to hold 441 to 337 downside. This one I'm going to be leaning bearish out the gate, looking for pop topping to short on that smaller name. So that is DYN, that is Nexi. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG. Oh, and by the way, guys, the first half of that newsletter for the year is coming out today, which is more of a general look of everything. I'm going through all the ETFs and things like that for the year, and then I do the more in depth with the individual names. You'll probably get it this weekend. I'm thinking for like the Sunday there, because I usually do it in 2 parts, as you guys know. So just stay tuned for that. We get the first part this morning for sure. Okay, SPY 470. I think we gotta go with that 472 level. Just do this. All right, 471.60, 5 or 4, we'll just call it. Pivot to the downside today, unable to hold 470.52 to 469.31. Able to hold 472.95, 473.86. Going to be leaning bullish only if that pivot point can be reclaimed. If it's reclaimed, EMA supports reclaimed, we got room to bounce. So we'll see what happens in there. And the reason I'm leaning bullish, you're just slightly extended to the downside after last day's move, but of course we'll see really quick out the gate whether or not that level wants to hold. Apple obviously extended to the downside on the daily here after last day's move as well. I'd figure retest that 50 in May today. 184.41 pivot, level holds 185.65 to 187.46. Unable to hold 183.47 to 182.11 downside. Again, leading bullish control if that pivot point's able to hold up. That is Apple. Let's take a look at Amazon. Okay. So this is a little bit more on the bearish side, but 149.29 pivot, unable to hold. Ruler was 147.52 to 145.33, able to hold 151.42 to 153.92 on the upside. Going to be leaning bearish if that pivot point is unable to hold. $466.31 pivot, unable to hold. We got room towards 459.01 to 449.15. Able to hold 474 to 485.54 upside, leaning on the bearish neutral side today is the pivot points unable to hold. It's Netflix. Let's take a look at Google. Oh, did I forget Meta? I did. Meta actually did a pretty good job yesterday of trying to reclaim its key pivot on the daily. It's back below that level, which we have to watch today. As the pivot point again. So pivot guys on Meta, 343.20. Levels able to hold 350.14 to 355.31, unable to hold 338.48, 334.16 on the downside, leaning on the bullish neutral side only if that pivot point can hold on Meta. And then last but not least, let's take a look at Google. Google. $136.44 pivot, levels able to hold 138.13 to 139.57. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback to the unable to hold, we look for a pullback to that 134.81 to 133.56 downside. Leaning on the bearish neutral side today if that pivot point's unable to hold. All right, so that's a spy, that's a thing. Those are the individual names we're looking at today, guys. Gonna go ahead and pass it over to South Beach. If I type up that pre-market action plan, then we'll do a quick little recap before the open. South Beach, if you're ready, she's all yours for now, my friend.
All right, hey guys. All right, so markets little beginning of the year weakness we're seeing, right? Technically, let's see what the damage was yesterday. So the oscillator, interestingly enough, is flat. So it was what up. I think at the high it was plus 57, like on Tuesday or Wednesday of last week, and now we're at +2. So dead flat really on the oscillator. So neutral, right? Let's look at the technicals, SPYs, Qs, Russell, etc. All right, so the S&P broke the 10-day on the daily, but it's kind of hovering there, and I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. And truth of the matter is, the daily is not my thing. Okay, it's the weekly. The weekly is just fine. What I don't want to see is I prefer not seeing the 10 cross the 17 on the daily. If that were to do that, I'd probably turn kind of neutralish. All right, right now I'm pretty, kind of bullish, but I would be neutral, so that's where I'm at on that one, okay? So that's what I'll be watching. You watch what you want, that's what I'll watch, okay? On the NASDAQ, same type of thing. This one looks a little worse because I think the down move was a lot more pronounced. No cross, but it did break the 10 and the 17 on the daily. Like I said, I'm not a daily guy, I'm a weekly guy. The weekly, channel was really too steep. So that thing broke also on the weekly, but I'm really not concerned at this point unless it broke some of the trend lines, the 10-17, and I'm not seeing that. I think this 10-17, if we can't turn this around the next couple of days, this will cross, and that'll make me neutral on NASDAQ, okay? Brings me to the Russell. Broke the 10-day. I think the setup is decent. I wouldn't be shocked if it filled the gap at 195 on the daily, but I think by and large it's in pretty good shape. The weekly is in very good shape, and so I'm kind of bullish on that one. And last but not least, you got the transports, all right, which have been really struggling the most of these four averages. Maybe they fill this gap at like 15,600-ish. If they do that, then we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm kind of neutral on this average. All right, neutral to bullish. But the transports have been kind of shitty as of late, and we'll see. So I'm slightly bullish, not as bullish as I was. A lot of stuff going on. We'll see how that goes, and that's the story with that. Let's see if it's affected what's going on in the bond market this morning. So rates have moved up a little bit, a little bit of a bounce. So on the 10-year, we went from 5% to like 380, and now we're at 397. So let's say if it breaks 4, I think that would be, a kind of the first resistance level. But I think, the bond move is kind of telling us that, we're going to see lower rates than we were seeing clearly. And we'll see what happens from there. The 2 years at 434 down from 511, a slight bounce there, nothing really meaningful. And the inversion is what these days? Let's see. It's been a half a point more or less, and now it's 37. So a little blip up in rates, nothing major. We had a little bit of that yesterday as well. I think the risk to this market is not interest rates, it's geopolitics. I've been saying that for, I don't know, a year. And it only gets worse. So a year ago, we just had what? Ukraine and Russia. Now we have Israel. And it seems like things are, I don't know, about heating up in Taiwan, China, but certainly moving closer to a target of whatever's going to happen. So we'll see. I know they have an election coming up, which I'll talk about in a minute. Anyway, rates are up a little bit in London, flat in the Eurozone. Pretty much that's the story with rates. Nothing major in the rate department this morning. All right, commodity wise, we have oil. So with all the hullabaloo going on in the Middle East, oil prices are pretty much staying in check. So we are in that 70-80 trading range, really sitting on the 70 level, and we'll see. So you would think if things were really, really bad, oil would be a little higher, but we'll see. All right, natural gas can't get out of its own way. Gold is down 1% this morning, which is kind of interesting. This thing's had a great move. I'm kind of bullish on gold because I think it's reflective of dollar, and I think the dollar, they printed too many, so I kind of like gold. These agricultural commodities are pretty quiet this morning, as they have been, okay? Currencies, dollars up against North America, up against the yen, up against the Chinese currency, only marginally, and pretty flat against the euro and the pound, 109, 126. Crypto is down this morning, pretty good, right? We have Bitcoin down 2,300. I saw a report this morning from somebody or other. I don't know who they were, but basically they were saying that this Bitcoin ETF, their understanding is it's going to get turned down again. I have absolutely no opinion. I have no insight, and I'm just reading the headline. All right, Ethereum's down. So we got on that news, I guess, partially. Bitcoin's down 5%, Ethereum's down 6%, Solana's down 9%. So you're seeing these stocks take a bit of a hit this morning, okay, right across the board. And bonds we did, and let's look at the foreign markets. So the FTSE's down 0.5%, the DAX 1%, Nikkei is down 0.2, China's flat to down a little bit, down about 0.25%, Hong Kong's down 1%, and Taiwan is down 1.6%. So there you have it. That's the backdrop. Okay, so we have banks and Fed. We had one Fed governor speaking today, and he already spoke. Okay. Basically, what did he say? He said something stupid. Barkin still sees a soft landing. Talk about trying to steal second with 1 foot on first. Sees a soft landing, but does not rule out further rate hikes. Really? Well, the bond market is disagreeing with him. In fact, the bond market is saying 89% chance, nothing for 11% chance that they lower rates. Nothing in the cards for higher rates. So that's banks and Fed, China, nothing really there. Well, there was, but I'll talk about it in a second. Russia, crypto, we discussed. Mr. Market yesterday. I don't know. Mr. Market yesterday was really asset allocation to a large extent. All right, you had the NASDAQ getting pummeled. And you had these out of favor groups, utilities, consumer non-durables, drug stocks, a lot of stuff that was lagging. Having a good day. HMOs had a decent day. Hospitals had a good day. Insurance was good. Banks, consumer non-durables, utilities. Those were the good groups. And the high beta names kind of took it on the chin, right? High PE tech, semis, Chinese stocks, travel and leisure type names, hotels, cruise lines, etc. Those were the biggest movers on the day. NASDAQ was down 290, which was a pretty big move for those guys. S&P had a strong comeback on that big buy program at the end of the day. I think it was 7 billion to buy or something like that. Transports were down again. That average has been struggling, and the Dow was flat based on you know, their representation in with those out of favor names in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is kind of a meaningless average when you really look at it. All right, so that's the story with that. All right, so news on the day, what do we have? China is telling Taiwanese people in this new election that their vote is important, and it will be determined between peace and war, prosperity, and I don't know, you know, whatever. They're painting a picture that they should vote for pro-Chinese representation versus people who, you know, a representation that wants them to remain independent. It's a really dicey story. China's getting a little more aggressive. I think they see the US as the opposition, and US has their hands full in a bunch of other places. So we'll see what happens with that. I have no idea. Okay. Mortgage demand was down 94% last week. I don't know if that's customary with the week before New Year's. Maybe it is. But on the lower rates, I would imagine that had something to do with it, but that's what they're talking about. Okay. Rates approaching 4% again on that 10-year. I don't think it's really significant, to be honest. It's just a number. Dan Niles put out his top picks. I think Dan Niles is a pretty good stock picker, actually. He likes Meta, he likes Amazon, and he likes the biotech index, XBI, and he likes Chinese KWEB. He says, I'm buying stocks at 13 times, and the MAG 7 is trading at 34 times. So he wants to be in those names. I mean, I would want to be in those names too, but I think you have to take into consideration Xi's stance on capitalism. And I think he's making a mistake not thinking about that. But we'll see. Another year, you know, people right, people wrong. We'll see how it plays out. All right. Trump is appealing that, who was it, Maine that kicked him off the ballot, or one of those states? Anyway, he's appealing it. And it's just a primary ballot. So we'll see. All right. This Epstein thing where all these hotshots were kind of John Doe's, they're going to change that to, they're going to name names. I think that's going to be interesting. Some people of you want them to name the names, others if you don't, I don't, you know, I can bet you that the guys who are going to be named don't want to be named, and that's going to be a little messy. We'll see. I really want to see if Bill Clinton's name is mentioned, because he seems to be Teflon until now. A JAL plane got in a little accident on a tarmac in, I think it was Tokyo, and plane burst into flames, but no one was injured. Then there was this Iranian incident this morning. 73 people killed, 170 injured, twin blasts. They don't know if it was a gas leak or it was a terror attack. And I think the market today will be hinging on what that is. Okay, if it was a terror attack, you can bet this thing's going to spread and the market will come in. I think that's really important. Okay. New Jersey Senator Menendez, more trouble this time, taking money from Qatar. This guy's just a dirtbag, and he should go to jail. Harvard president was finally sacked based on plagiarism, but so that's the end of that story, and we won't have to hear that again. This company Blackwell, something like that. They're trying to get some board nominees to go against the Trian nominees at Disney. Value Act is not voting with Trian, so there's all kinds of things going on in Disney. I'm not sure that new board will service them well, but we'll see. Okay, Israel-Hamas expansion after Israel killed a couple of Hamas top brass in Beirut. That thing's kind of nasty. Then you got that Red Sea situation, and for some reason I can't understand that aircraft carrier left the Middle East. I guess they only go for 2 or 3 month stints, and that's it. So I guess we'll see what happens. Okay, Maersk, which is a really huge freight company, shipping company, is not going to use the Red Sea for foreseeable future. And one of these generals was on TV and he said it's just the Red Sea is just too big for, you know, a bunch of ships to protect it. You have to kind of travel with the ship through the Red Sea, and I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Bitcoin ETF, I mentioned the situation there. Then you have Ukraine attacking Belgrade and Crimea, and Russia is increasing their retaliatory strikes. And Turkish inflation comes in at, ready for this, 65%, and they think it's going to increase from there. So these guys got a lot of service. All right, individual names. You got this NEXI rallying. Momentum name, I couldn't find anything on that. And SFWL is another one. TDCX got a takeover offer from their CEO at $6.60 a share. ALVO had positive PR, as did DYN for treatment of muscular disease. That stock is rocking. AGIO had positive phase 3 met primary endpoints. TPHS extends mortgage forbearance period. Insider buying in GSAT, ASA, and TTSH. Bloomin is in a cooperation agreement with Starboard Value, so they're going to get 2 board seats. I think that's a positive. Disney we discussed. ALKS had some positive news as well. On the negative side, we had they're acquiring Pingsoft. ESPR had some things with Daiichi that were negative. Neo, repurchase of converts. Solino, mixed shelf. TLEX is spinning off NXT, so I'm sorry, Flex, so that's not really down. PNST, momentum names, CAN, ICAD, NE, and BTDR, all momentum names on the downside, okay? So this market is picking up a little steam on the downside here. I still have some S&P puts and short of some S&P, so that's okay. In research this morning, Bristol, the big news, Bristol was downgraded by Bank of America. CME was downgraded by Goldman, as was BX and Schwab. Keith Pruitt, whose research I actually like, they went to sells on Rocket and SoFi. Mercy, a sell at Jefferies. Any bullish shit here? Wolf like Citibank and Schwab. Teladoc, Barclays likes that one. They like McDonald's as well. That's about it. A couple of syndicate names we don't trade. And that's about it. So I'm going to pass it to Spartan, and let's have a good day, guys. Spartan, it's all yours.
Thank you, South Beach guys. Good morning. What's going on? Yeah, perfect. All right, so what's going on, my friends? Just helping someone get in. So if you guys are new to chat or already done so, make sure to click on that Discord link that's emailed to you. You can pop in a chat, look something a little bit like this. First area to go to when you guys do come in. Click on that disclaimer section, give it a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section, scroll to the very, very top. Top of the section, you got a link to the disclaimer, as well as this bolded risk reward section. Super important to understand both. In regards to risk reward, guys, most important ratio in trading, so definitely worth checking out in that regard. Continue to scroll down. We have the summary file. This chat works, breaks out all the channels work on the left-hand side, so you can properly navigate the chat throughout the day. Important to know where to be looking. Continue to scroll down. We have the how to read alerts and the options and equity side, breaking down how to read alerts on both sides. Pretty straightforward in that regard. Continue to scroll down. We have the options rules that we like to use Monday to Thursday in regards to controlling risk, scaling in, scaling out, trading different price contracts, etc., etc. SPX rules right below that we use for the SPX ideas in the room. Continue to scroll down. We have any small account, less than 10K, breaking down. If you do a smaller account, less than 10K, here's some rules, information, discipline you can put in place. You could better manage your account. how to pick ideas from an options directory perspective below that, and lastly, high conviction small count trades posted in that area when they do make sense. All right, let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. A couple different things. Pre-market tickers on watch. Oh, and by the way, everything's posted here, so I'll scroll through really slowly. So if you just pause the YouTube, you can read it. There you go. That's all that. See all the charts that are posted, as well as on the options ideas right there. Okay. All right, so pre-market tickers on watch. What we got going on today? So Tesla, Nvidia, Crowd, Coin, DYN, and then Nexi. So Tesla gapping down and simply the market. Same with Nvidia, Crowd, Coin gapping down, continuation of Bitcoin. DYN announcing positive initial clinical data from its achieved clinical trial of DYNE 101 in patients with myotonic dystrophy type 1. Nice little gap up on that. And then Nexi gapping up on retail volume. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two that we're looking at today, guys, going to be that Tesla and Nvidia. Let's have a gander. Tesla, Nvidia. All right, so Tesla, guys, pivot to the downside today, 247.33. Let me just actually. 247.33, unable to hold 244.29 to 240.33, able to hold 251.29 to 256.30. Will be tested on the upside overall on Tesla, going to be leaning bearish and for continuation lower if that pivot point is unable to hold. Nvidia for 72.75 pivot levels able to hold 481.60 to 488.84, unable to hold 462.34 to 450.88 on the downside will be tested overall on Nvidia, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side only if that pivot point can hold this morning. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Let's take a look at Crowd. Let's take a look at Coin. So Crowd pivot to the downside today, going to be that 245.02. Unable to hold 239.99, 236.05. Able to hold 250.27 to 255.96 on the upside. Going to be leaning bearish if that pivot point is unable to hold. It's got quite a bit of room lower there. Coin pivot. 144.21 level holds 149.30 to 155.75, able to hold or unable to hold, sorry, 135.76, and below that 130.40 on the downside. Going to be leaning bearish if that pivot point's unable to hold as well. Let's take a look at the spot, or sorry, the last two, DYN and then that Nexi. DYN 1979 pivot 22.90, 25.12, unable to hold 17.52 to 15.50 downside. Leaning bullish neutral only if that pivot point is able to hold. Nexi 602 pivot level hold 729, 843, unable to hold 441 to 337 on the downside, leaning bullish neutral there. Let's take a look at the SPY in the back. Alrighty. So SPY, guys. 471.64 pivot to the downside today. This level is unable to hold. Room lower into the 469.31 support. Sorry, 470. 470. 52 support. Breaks, we see the 469.31 tested. Pivot reclaims. Room higher into the 472.95 resistance. Breaks. We see the 473.86 tested. Leaning bearish, or sorry, leaning bullish. Only if pivot reclaims. So it's got to get above that EMA support for me to like it on a bounce. Otherwise, yeah, I think it just goes lower. So that's my 2 cents there, my friends. Okay, let's take a look at the rest of the FANG here. So Apple, Amazon, Netflix, etc. 184.41 pivot on Apple, unable to hold 183.47 to 182.11, able to hold 185.65 to 187.46. Leaning bullish only if that pivot point is able to hold. Let's take a look at Amazon. 149.29 pivot level holds 151.42 to 153.92, unable to hold 147.52 to 145.33 downside, leaning on the bearish neutral side if the pivot point's unable to hold. Netflix pivot 466.31, Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 451 or 459.01 to 449.15. Able to hold 474 to 485.54, leaning bearish if that pivot point is unable to hold as well. Let's take a look at Meta. Meta 340, 320, level holds 350.14 to 355.31. Unable to hold 338.48 to 333.77 downside, leaning bearish if that pivot point's unable to hold. Let's take a look at good or bullish, sorry, if the pivot point's able to hold. And that's a major pivot level on the daily, of course. Google pivot to the downside today, 136.44, unable to hold 134.81, 133.56, able to hold 138.13 to 139.57 on the upside. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side there today if the pivot point is unable to hold. VIX 1331 pivot level holds 1408, 1450, unable to hold 1276 to 1231 on the downside. Not leaning in particular direction, but using the VIX for direction on the market. Qs pivot to the downside today, 401.14, unable to hold 398.86 to 397.01, able to hold 402.37, 403.57, leaning bearish there. And last but not least, guys, at SPX. And I'm going to go to the daily chart for this just because it's easier to look at. 47.29 pivot, unable to hold 46.95. 46.49, able to hold 47.55, 47.89 on the upside, bearish neutral. All right, so that's SPY, that's bang. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today. Gonna go and pass it over to South Beach as I type up, or it's not South Beach. Thanks for coming into the YouTube stream, guys. Sorry. So, thanks for popping into the YouTube stream. If you guys want to come trade with us, we do this every single day, live streaming from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And yeah, if you guys do come back, we do the YouTube streams every single Wednesday, so join us next Wednesday as well, and then stay tuned for that that newsletter for my yearly picks, guys. If you're not signed up for it, it's free. You don't need a credit card. It's just on the website there. You can just click the newsletter, sign up, and you'll have access. All righty.